This is Glenn Clark with Pressbox and Jmore, and right now we are speaking with Terry Hasseltine, the Executive Director of Maryland Sports, about some of the great travel and events that we can take advantage of here in Maryland throughout 2023. Terry, it's great to see you. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes for
Oh,
us.
great to be on. I appreciate you having me.
So, Terry, just right out of the chute, you always have about a billion things going on. Try to highlight, if you could, somewhere like 3 or 4 of the biggest events coming here in Maryland in 2023 that everybody should be aware of.
Well, you should be aware of right in the tail end of the winter season, we have the CIAA happening and coming back to Baltimore for the second time. Obviously in May, we have the Preakness, which is, second leg of the Triple Crown, always a big capture for the sports scene in Baltimore and Maryland. Then you have the Maryland Cycling Classic coming Labor Day weekend again. Huge event this last year, inaugural event, over 80,000+ people lined the streets of Baltimore and Baltimore County. And then we have the Maryland 5-Star up in Cecil County, which is becoming an annual pilgrimage that everybody should take, put on their bucket list to see. And then we have hundreds, and I mean hundreds, of youth and amateur sporting events throughout the entire state. Too many to list, but they're all great. And kids with their families traveling into the great state of Maryland, spending their money and having a great time, and then going home and bragging to everybody about how they enjoyed Maryland.
And we love everything about that. You referenced the CIAA. That's the first event, correct? At the new look arena.
Yes. Yeah, it should be interesting. I mean, obviously, the Oakview Group's doing a tremendous job keeping that project on schedule. It's the first significant event in the building. I know there's some concerts already, scheduled to, tip off there as well. But it'll be great to see, the final product and, finally have a building that, is current with the times. And that's big because it's probably held us back, in past years on some of the sporting events, because there are arenas, within close proximity that have the suites, that have the back of house amenities that, the arena didn't have, but now will have because of the Oakview Group's investment.
Terry, you speak of some of the value of these events with tourism, but can you tell us a little bit more about what it means for the state to have these types of events and all over the state as well, for even people that are from here to maybe go visit Cecil County during the 5-Star that haven't before, how important that relationship is between these major events and tourism?
Well, the reason we're able to host those major events is because we got such a strong grassroots effort and the youth and amateur sports side. You have to cultivate those relationships that open the door for the bigger opportunities to present themselves. We're out there in the market all the time, going to various conferences and trade shows, trying to show why Maryland is a great place for sport tourism. Well, for our economy, it's awesome. I mean, you're talking about in the youth and amateur side alone, we generate about $235 to $240 million annually in direct spending. You put that into an economic impact calculator, that's over $1 billion coming into Maryland's economy through youth and amateur sports. And then you tack on some of these high profile events like the cycling class, the 5-Star, CIAA, and then you throw in the Preakness and the like. I mean, you're talking billions of dollars of economic impact coming in through sports and through games. And the fun part about that is it's a growing market segment during the recession, and then here with the pandemic, it's the first market that really recovers after those situations happen in the United States. I mean, we're right now targeting about 3.5% to 4.5% higher than 2019, which was actually one of the peak years of sports tourism in the U.S. And then you look at the overall spending. People don't understand the youth and amateur sports market like some of us do, because you look at the total spend in the United States was $19.8 billion on youth and amateur sports. The NFL was 16.3.
Wow.
So youth and amateur sports is outshining the biggest of the biggest when it comes to professional sports on economic spend in the United States.
That is amazing. Terry Hasseltine, Executive Director of Maryland Sports. You just blew my mind with that one, man. I had never heard that stat before.
It goes down in the Major League, NBA, all those things. I mean, you're talking the NFL is the top of the heap when it comes to pro sports, but youth and amateur sports outweighs it huge. I mean, moms and dads getting in the car on the weekend warriors, going to these various tournaments with, their kids in the car, and, became a very big travel market, in vehicle when you're talking about the pandemic and the recession, because, air travel got challenging. But then, some of those major youth events, they get in the airplanes and they travel here. The USSSA World Series that we host every year in Wycomico, Worcester, and Ocean City brings in over 400+ teams. The elite tournaments, Memorial Day soccer tournament, brings over 720 teams to the central part of the state. Those people are staying 3, 4, 5 nights in our hotels, eating in our restaurants. As I say, heads and beds, food and belly, gas and cars, credit card and cash on counters, and butts and seats. That's how we measure our space. And that's sports tourism for you right there.
It's incredible. It really is incredible. Terry, is there, some of these are the major events, right? Is there another event that perhaps people maybe aren't as familiar with? And you would say, boy, this is a real sort of bedrock part of what it is that we do in sports tourism here in the state of Maryland.
Wow, I mean, that's a tricky question to answer because you don't want to alienate anybody in answering that question. But I mean, we probably host more lacrosse tournaments, per capita than any other state in the country. Between Harford County and what they do up there at Cedar Lane, to the soccerplex over in Germantown, down to the new Liberty Park that just opened in Prince George's County, and then you come over here on the Eastern Shore and you have beach lacrosse, you have box lacrosse, field lacrosse. So I mean, Maryland's kind of synonymous with the lacrosse community, but we host a ton of cricket, the sport that a lot of people don't know, happening around the Beltway. Prince George's County, Montgomery County, Howard. We have one of the strongest youth cricket programs in not only the country but in the world, that has grown significantly over probably the last 7 to 8 years. Their participation numbers are growing through the roof. But cricket, people don't necessarily think about that in the United States, but it's there. And then obviously all the different brands of rugby are coming into play, more now, because soccer and lacrosse, like I said, they've been out there for a while. Sports like rugby and cricket are the things that are starting to uptick.
I believe I even saw this past year Quidditch being a
quad ball now. It's called quad ball.
Sorry, quad ball.
Because of the statements of the author, they renamed the sport called quad ball, and that was in Howard County. So as a matter of fact, I was just sitting with Eric from Howard County, here at the luncheon. And, that event was a huge success. They come in, I mean, like I said, the youth and amateur side of it, it's the place to be. I mean, these people come in, they have a great time, they spend money, they have a great time on the field. There's a camaraderie. You try to avoid some of the, adult stupidity that happens at some of these events because they, think their kid's getting a scholarship to some school that they're not. But, we try to avoid those things. But sport tourism is a significant cog in Maryland's economy. It's a significant brand ambassador. I mean, look at universities, why they spend so money on athletics. Well, it's the one thing that travels everywhere, and it has your logo on everything. And, sports is the place to be, in my humble opinion.
There's no doubt about it. All right, Terry, if people want to find out more about what you guys are doing with Maryland sports, where should they be going?
MarylandSports.us, or, same thing on all our hashtags are the same thing, Maryland Sports, .us or MD Sports. The unique part that you have with us, and we have a little bit of bandwidth on it, is, sometimes we get confused with the, University of Maryland Athletic Department, but we like them too. They're good partners. So, but MarylandSports.us is where you'll find it. We're relaunching our website here in the next 10 days. So, and our youth and amateur sports grant programs on there, and now launching in, fiscal year 24, we have the major events fund, which is an allocation that the legislature gave us to help these big events, especially as they lead up to them. A lot of people don't understand it takes years and years of planning, and you got to somehow, fund the beginning part of it, because once the event happens, that's where all the economics happen, but you got to get to that day to host it.
Terry Hasseltine, we'll look forward to seeing you at the CIAA. Looking forward to seeing the new arena. Always appreciate you taking some time for us.
Thanks, my friend.